Hello, surTHRIVER, and welcome to surTHRIVER Unleashed. And I'm so excited about today's program. Today, I have Janine Naus with me, and she is a grief and trauma relief specialist. She is I'm reading this, she's a multiple #1 best-selling author and the founder of Breaking the Silence Summit. She also works with women who are suffering and stuck in grief due to trauma, and we're going to talk more about that. She is a surTHRIVER of long-term physical, sexual, emotional abuse. Please help me welcome Janine. Hi, Janine.
Rena, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And we had to put you on hold. I was having internet problems. I got backed up on some stuff, and we were scheduled to interview a month or two ago, but see, all good things will pass and come to fruition. So here we are today. Yeah. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
Well, okay. So you told me that you are a surTHRIVER of long-term physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. I don't want you to get into the details of what happened to you, Janine, but when did you decide to start the healing process for the trauma that you went through?
It was far into my adult life. And, because I didn't really recognize that I was struggling so much, even though I was. And, so I was just one of these kind of people who was like a workaholic. And, I just wanted to avoid those emotions I was feeling inside. So by the time I decided to do something about it was, I would say, probably in my 40s, mid to late 40s. And, it kind of precipitated from starting to read a book that was called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah, that was like it catapulted me into some, it's all things awareness. And that's, awareness is key to our healing journey. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I find, Janine, that my healing started I called for help when I was 34. And usually it's in the 30s and 40s when people start to reach out. But I'm finding when I'm speaking on stage, sharing my story, that younger women and men are now starting the healing process because we're talking about it more. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there was such a movement about self-help and self-awareness that now people are becoming more and more curious. And they're stepping onto a path, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, well, that I relate to that. I want more, so you kind of, it's like that, what is that one, those little rectangle things, and, the dominoes, creates like
dominoes,
this domino effect. Yeah. And so then things start rippling through, and, and I think that's how the healing journey is. It just kind of weaves through the fabric of our soul. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I think the Me Too movement, I was so amazed. I knew what happened to me during high school and as a child, and then as a young adult. I thought it was only happening to me, but when the Me Too movement came out, and with the help of the internet can be a good thing. I was seeing more and more people on my feed saying Me Too.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. How about you?
Yeah, it's I think when I started my summit, Breaking the Silence Summit, Healing Childhood Sexual Trauma, Me Too, suddenly really popped up, and then there was such a great interest, and so I saw the same thing happening, and it's great. And and I think another important point, it's great to be, if you find yourself in a space where you can have a voice and speak up. But for those who don't feel comfortable with it, it's okay. It's okay to be there when you're ready, or it's a process, and it's something that people need to really understand. So just sometimes Me Too can make us feel excited, and those of us who are not ready yet, that's a scary thing. So just to honor yourself where you're at in this moment.
Good point. And don't beat yourself up because you're not where, if you're not where I am or Janine is at this moment, survivor, surTHRIVER, you're a surTHRIVER because you're here listening. Don't beat yourself up for where you are. You are right where you need to be to get to where you want to go. And Janine, because you are a grief and trauma release specialist, you know this. You know that one size does not fit all for us to heal, and there's no right or wrong time to start healing.
Correct. Yeah.
Would you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely believe that there is, you kind of know inside. You can't help but have that bubbling feeling that says something needs to change, and then you kind of step out of it. And then when we're on this healing journey, there is no perfect path for one person. It's just the fact that you're on the path is all that matters, because sometimes when we go on our healing journey, talk therapy, totally awesome. But for some of us, and particularly myself, I'm diagnosed with complex PTSD. I needed so much more. And so then this is where, when I started reading all things awareness and coming into all these different self-help books, and meeting all these teachers and guides that really helped me see things differently. I'm like, who is this person? I don't even have to talk about my trauma. I'm seeing something different within me. And then that helped me kind of move forward. So that was a really important thing that happened. And so I just, I want people to know that there's a plethora of modalities out there, and you just kind of just see what fits right for you. And if it doesn't fit right, the hardest part we tend to do as survivors is that we may want to judge ourselves. And to kind of step back from that. If it didn't work, it's okay. Just you were just being curious, and you're curious. Maybe later on it's something you can do. Some people, take for example, just a simple thing like meditation. I love to meditate. People are like petrified. Some people out there are just petrified. They're like, I can't be silent. My mind just goes crazy. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's a practice, and everything we do is a practice, and and there's something to be learned and gained from that experience. So
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I want people to know that it was 30 years ago that I first reached out for help. I was 34. I turned 66 years young this year. Yay.
Yeah.
And so it was over 30 years ago. And I did go through talk therapy for 2 years, and I came to the point where I accepted what happened. And I knew that now I was responsible for the rest of my life and my happiness. So I thought I was done. But as the years went on, Janine, I found that I was slipping back into old habits, into victimhood, into self-sabotaging habits, sleeping around, drinking, doing drugs again. One and done, I thought I was, and our life is a journey. And I like to say continuing education. And like you said, with the 4 agreements, reading really helped me see that we are on a path of searching and healing. And that path takes you turn to the right, you turn to the left. Sometimes you do a little bit of a U-turn to go back a little bit, but that doesn't mean you're not in the right place. Yeah. So how has reading, because you read the 4 agreements, reading is a great tool. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I can share a little story about my experience with reading.
Please do.
One of the things that happens when you have such a traumatic background is all those emotions get stuck in your body, and it causes, that fight or flight. So it's like, I'm on constant fight or flight. Inflammation was extreme in my body. I was in extreme pain. And it got to the point I had one slip and fall on ice. And for 3 years, I couldn't walk. I was in a walker. And so somebody who used to run marathons and stuff, suddenly her life changed. And what I did during that time, after I picked up that book, I picked up another. I got 2 full bookcases. And for all that time, I read so many self-help books. And then all of a sudden, boy, did I see life so much differently, and then it led me to different teachers. It led me to go and meet these people and, participate in different retreats. And, things started opening up. It was like this blossoming flower. I didn't know where it was coming from, but I felt way different. And it was just good to get out of that really sticky negative space. But yes, you're right. It's easy sometimes to slip, and it's okay because we don't graduate. It's not a thing that we graduate from. It's a lifelong process, and it's a learning process, and we grow our skills. It's all about our growth, our personal growth.
I like that. We don't graduate. It's continuing healing, continuing growth, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I thought I was one and done.
Yeah.
But once I realized I wasn't one and done, and actually I was really mad about that, Janine. I was mad that I have more to do. I'm tired of being sick and tired, and I'm tired of being in this negative place. And I was mad that one thing didn't fix me.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I did that, a lot to myself. I would just get mad. If I stayed there, that's where I got in trouble. But sometimes that anger, if I accept there's, it's one of the many selves that we have within us, so it's like, you have an angry self, you have a loving self, a happy self, the little, hurt child self, all these different, parts of us. And it's about accepting all these different parts of our being and honoring it and have a conversation with that angry self. I'll say, Janine, I hear that you're angry. I hear that you feel this way. And, I'm here to support you. I'm your adult self. I'm here to help you through this. And, when you have those little mini conversations to kind of shift the conversation within what's going on in your head to something that's more positive, asking what you need. What do you need in this moment? Sometimes it's simply about that. We can work so hard on it that maybe it's just simply pull back, take a little bit of a break, and honor ourselves, give ourselves that, that time and space to work through what it is we're feeling. So
that's a great point. Ask what you need, because we're always asking, what do others need?
Right. Yeah.
But we don't take the time to ask, what do you need, Rena, right this moment? Because I'm always, my husband, what do you need? What can I help you with? We fail. So that was a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And I like that you said we don't graduate. Life is a journey. Life is a healing. After I was mad about not being healed or fixed with the first 2-year talk therapy, I learned to be open and curious. And you really kind of touched on that with the reading, and you read more and you were blossoming and you were opening up to new ideas and new thoughts. So that's what I want to share with surTHRIVERs today. I think this is a good point, Janine, that be open, be curious to finding your happiness and how to get there, because I believe we were born to live in joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I walk through life and, I have a book called Creating Heaven Wherever I Am. And it's a book series actually. And
did you write this? This is yours?
Yes.
And what's it called again?
Creating Heaven Wherever I Am.
I like that. All right. Tell me about it.
So the I am is your connection to source, whoever it is you believe in. And it's you. So it's the solution to having a happy, heavenly kind of life here on earth. And, so it's a choice. It's different steps. It's taking an inspired action steps, even if they're little baby steps, that kind of thing. And, so that, you were just kind of reminding me of that, because part of that whole process was that in life, we're here to create, to experience, and to love. So those are three, tenets of like how to live life the way you want. You seek out what it is you desire out of your life, and then you just set those little intentions, and you just keep taking steps toward it, and you'll find that things start opening up. The more you do, a little more and a little more, and it just, wow, what happened here? I feel a lot differently. Even those around you might sit there and say, what happened? Why are you so different? They may not necessarily like the change. That's okay.
Right.
Because it's your personal journey. It's your experience of getting to know who you are, and more importantly, coming back home to love.
I like that, coming back home to love. Yeah, be open, be curious. It's finding you, and yeah, I believe in source,
Yes.
God, whatever you want to call it, the universe, source, coming into ourselves. So yeah, and you mentioned the Four Agreements. I love that book. There was a book that I read, and it's still around. It was called The Courage to Heal.
Okay.
Now, that was a good book. And I know that there's a lot of other books that have come out since then. The Body Keeps Score, and now Oprah and Dr. What's his name? I can't remember. Forgive me. But it's not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. I have yet to read that book, but I'm glad. So tell me about your series. Is it, how many books?
Well, right now it's 2 books, but I just have this vision of more and more books. So it's just going to be on different kind of self-help topics,
Awesome.
Kind of expand from that. So, the first 2 books, one is, it was a really small little book, and it was really intended to, and actually, because when we first talked, you talked about Jack Canfield. Well, that was my connection to him, because I was in his program, and then if you write a book and get it, published, so I self-published it. He'd tweet about it, so I got it out there.
Exactly.
And so it was a fun little journey, but it's just little mini teachings and little exercises. And then the next book is sort of like a year-long journey. So it's like little weekly exercises that you can do.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's sort of like a journaling, type of process. It just helps you, become into more awareness on different aspects of, things that we work through. So.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, good luck on the rest of the series for that book.
Mhm.
I know tell me, you have a summit too that you put on quarterly. Tell me about that.
Actually, that was my masterclass.
Okay.
Right. And that masterclass, it's the try to get the full name here, because it's 3 steps to I don't have it in front of me here right at the moment.
That's
Here.
okay. That's okay.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Right. It's the 3-step process to stop suffering from the devastating effects of grief and trauma and make peace with your past. And then that leads to my Stop Suffering Now and Make Peace with Your program, with your past program. And so that masterclass is something I present on a quarterly basis. And and it gives everybody an opportunity to come into this free masterclass to learn about these steps, and there's strategies and tools, and then usually at the end you get an opportunity to have a free call with me, and I help people get through a particular challenge they may be working through, and then if they want to learn more about my programs and services, then I share that. So.
Awesome.
So that's what I do with that. Now, when you were talking about the summit, that's the Breaking the Silence Summit, Healing Childhood Sexual Trauma, and that's something that I do right now. The summit's going on in my Bridge to Healing community on Facebook. So each day there's a speaker. I have 64 speakers that are in the summit, so it's a huge summit.
Wow.
And so, and these people, share their heart and soul. And what I love about it, and what I love about doing summits, is when I bring other people who do the kind of work that I do, the heart-centered work. It's an opportunity for people to learn about different people, because I don't look at it as, this is a business and they're my competition. No, I look at it as we're vibrating on the same level. And what it happens is when somebody comes in, they find somebody that resonates with them. And I'd rather see that they align with the person that they resonate with. And that's who they may start their journey with. The idea is
a great point.
Their journey.
That's a great point. And I want to share with the survivors listening right now. when I started on my healing process and I first called for help, I met with one therapist, and I had never been married, and she put me in this group. This was 30 years ago. So we're all sitting around a circle, and they're all talking about going through their divorce. And I looked over at the therapist and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Why did you put me in this group? I can't even get married. I'm not going through a divorce. Mm-hmm. So I had to find another therapist, and she was awful. And I never went back to her again. I finally found a group with a male and female therapist, and there were 6 other women in the group, and the group was for 2 years. It was fantastic. But this is what I want people to know. We're not going to resonate with everybody. And if you're not comfortable with whoever you're talking with or listening to, move on. Mm-hmm. Yes. Just because they're a therapist, or, people resonate with me or they don't. They're going to resonate with you, Janine, or they don't. Right. Move on. It's about your healing process. And if you don't feel comfortable with whoever you're with, move on. It's okay, because it's about your healing, not appeasing the person or liking the person you're with. Exactly. So that was a good point. I had to bring that up. Definitely. Yeah. So, Janine, we're all on this healing process, and I now understand it's a continuing education, it's continuing healing, and it's continuing aha moments. What do you do when you find yourself slipping back into old negative, maybe victimhood thinking or self-sabotage, or maybe you're having a bad day? And what do you do to help bring you back into your source and a good vibrational moment?
One of the things I initially do is I try to center and ground myself, because, when we're in that moment, we're like looking at everything externally. And so, one of the things that, and this could be something as simple as just imagining you just close your eyes and you take that deep breath, and you start, just imagining like this white light coming through your body, and you're connecting, and then you're connecting to the ground, and you're, just imagine like these roots connecting through, Mother Earth, and connecting around that energy source, the center of the earth, and then drawing that all up into you, just bringing it up, and, to help you feel connected and grounded. And then, flowing through your body and out through the top of your head and out to the sky and out to the sun, and that energy, that sun, all that energy. And, just tapping into that, and then find yourself in that space where you're comfortable. And then now, when we were talking earlier about being open and curious, start asking yourself questions. What is it that I need at this time? And, how can I, change what's happening in this moment? Is there something that I can do for myself to make me feel better? And, and then just, even if it's just a small little something, it's better than nothing, and then focus on that. Sometimes it might be just give yourself and, come up with a little mantra, and, a nice affirmation to help you remind yourself. Some people will put like a rubber band around their wrist and pull on it, and it's just a way to remind themselves, I need to pause here for a moment. So especially if you're with other people, you might have to go to the bathroom and, just politely excuse yourself, and, just get yourself out of that space so you can get into a different space. And for me, a lot of times it's about getting outside, and, I'm close to the Chesapeake Bay, so I want to get by that water. Water is all about emotions flowing, and that's my reminder. So I kind of look at it from that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. And water is emotion. Either it's a soft, subtle wave, or it's a big wave that could knock you over. We talked about it earlier about how we are always taking care of others, but we must be a caretaker for ourselves. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. Get grounded. For some people, they live in apartments, they can't go outside and barefoot, especially if it's cold out. But being grounded, it's good to walk around in the grass or the beach, in the water, on the sand, barefooted, to become grounded. And if you're listening to this, survivor, learn a little bit more about grounding and check that out, because we are all a part of this big planet, and we are connected in so many ways. Even though you live up in the Northeast, Janine, you and I are connected. We're connected here through Zoom now. We are all one on this planet, and I believe in that. And when we vibrationally put negative people in our lives, we're going to stay negative, be negative. And if we want a positive outcome, we have to think positively. We have to do positive things. We have to really be a caretaker for ourselves.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that. And I really believe in affirmations. I have 52 weeks of transformational affirmations. They can get them free on my website. What else? So tell me, Breaking the Silence, is that your program?
The program is Stop Suffering Now and Make Peace with Your Past. Okay,
that's your program now. And tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. It's, basically they're two separate programs. In total, it's a 3-month program, and they have 4 pillars for each. But so just imagine the 4th pillar is kind of setting back here, because there's a reason why it's setting back a little bit. But in Stop Suffering Now, it's we focus on insight for the 1st pillar, and then the 2nd pillar is on impact, and then there's a 3rd pillar, and that's on intuition. So within insight, there are 7 essential elements to expanding your awareness that we explore. So it's things like cultivate self-awareness, decrease distractions, developing a healthy ego, trying to remember all the top of my head here. There's intuition, and even though we'll find that in Make Peace with Your Past, intuition, but I cover it a little bit here because intuition is very deep, and it's about coming to making good decisions for yourself. And a lot of us feel that we don't trust, so we go into that a lot deeper later on. Then there's being present, and then I forgot what the other one was. I think it was.
That's okay. It's a lot to remember. When we put our programs together, I have to go back and look at them. That's great.
And then when we go into Make Peace, we'll go back first here to the impact of the trauma. So I like people to think about 3 concentric circles, and then the 1st circle is you. So the inner circle. Then around that is your family and friends. And then around that is the world at large. So it's all interconnected. And, but when you work through the impact of trauma, you got to really start with you. And then, it's building out to all the different relationships and how that trauma has impacted all these different areas in your life. It's all part of expanding that awareness. And then of course, there's that intuition piece that I kind of talked about, the last pillar. So then when we go to Make Peace with Your Past, then there's acceptance, about acceptance of the trauma. And then there's forgiveness. And forgiveness is a pretty difficult topic, a scary topic for a lot of people.
It was for me, I agree. And I was never going to forgive. So forgiveness is key in a lot of things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's also, it's helpful and key, to helping you in your healing process, but it's not necessary in the moment. You may not have to do that. So allow that process, allow yourself to come more into awareness of you. The more you expand your own self-awareness, you'll be in a better space to be able to work on that aspect about forgiveness. That's why I have it a little bit later in the program. And then when the 3rd pillar, it's called rebirth. And so then now we're ready to, tackle life in a very different way, a very open and more curious, and getting ready to do even more deeper work as you move through. And then those 2 things, or, the 4th pillars for each program was implementation. And what I do with implementation with both programs, that flows throughout the program. It's all those comprehensive workbook that I have, all the different strategies and tools. We're implemented. Everything builds upon each other, and I do that, throughout my programs. So
that's wonderful, wonderful, great. And so, all right. Well, I hate to wrap it up, but we're going to have to wrap it up soon. It sounds like a great program. And I'm so glad that you were able to put this together for survivors to help them become surTHRIVERs. And because trauma can be, Brene Brown said once, I saw her interviewing with Oprah Winfrey, and she, her subject, I call her the godmother of shame. And shame plays an integral part in not healing. And shame keeps us stuck.
Yes.
And she said, shame is lethal. Shame can be deadly. And that's when I had an aha moment. I said, I'm sick and tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit. And I shared that with some other steps in my TEDx talk.
Oh,
yeah, which you can find on YouTube.
Yep.
So I'm so glad that you put this program together, because like you said, and I've said, one and done, we need continual education. We need continual tools to becoming who we are meant to be. And I never want to stop learning. And what was really huge, and I touched on it earlier, I was mad that I had more work to do, because I'm like, I've done enough work. But then I had a shift in perspective, and I think you'll agree with this, Janine. If you have that shift in perspective and make learning fun,
yes,
be open and curious.
yeah.
And so, how long is your program that they go through?
Well, it's 3 months entire, for the 2 programs. So then, then you just split it, and then it's for the, so when they start, if they decide to start, just stops up right now, then, then it would be for those, that half of that.
And then they move into the next program. Okay. And so
to do that. And the journey doesn't stop there, actually, because, there's 6 months, there's a year, there's
right. And you can keep doing those steps. And keep progressing and progressing and progressing. Definitely. And that's so where can they find? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's where all the fun is, then you start, really expanding, and it doesn't feel so much like work. It's like, it is work, but it is not work.
Exactly.
That makes you feel good, so.
Exactly. So friend, you're listening in, be open, be curious, be open to learning about healing. If you haven't, listening to this podcast, you've started the healing process.
Yeah.
And you're already in it. So congratulations on that.
I love that you said that.
Yeah. So you are healing more than you give yourself credit for, by listening to this program, by reading books, by seeing how other people are doing things. Janine, I've been so thrilled to have you on the show today. We have to wrap up. Where can people find out more about you and your programs?
Sure. They can go to my website at www.janinenaus.com.
Naus. Good. Janine Naus.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Naus. Good. Well, thank you again for being here today. And surTHRIVER, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so happy that you're watching us on YouTube, or you're listening in on the podcast. We can be found on iTunes, iHeart, all over the place. So just tune in to your favorite platform. If you want to watch us on YouTube, we are there as well at Rena Romano TV. And so until next time, surTHRIVER, I wish you peace, love, hugs.
Oh, yeah.
Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
All righty.